Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at a Jane Eyre lesson, specifically focusing on Thornfield Hall. We're going to go through this and understand the location and the role it played in the protagonist's life. Now if you haven't done so already, please can you like and subscribe, it really does help us out when you do so. First thing I'd like to do then is look at the statements and identify which are true and which are false about Jane's time at Thornfield Hall. So we have then, this is where Jane first meets Rochester. Jane's time at Thornfield is largely traumatic. Thornfield is the third location in the novel. We meet the minor character of Grace Poole. Thornfield Hall has little impact on Jane's character, and this is the first time we meet St. John Rivers. Now before we move on, it's important to try and stretch and challenge yourself and think, can you recall of any quotations from this section of the novel? If you want to pause it here and go through the statements in your own time, please feel free to do so. We're now going to jump ahead and have a little bit of feedback. Class feedback. Check your answers against the ones below. So for our true statements we have then, this is where Jane first meets Rochester. Thornfield is the third location in the novel. And the final one, we meet the minor character of Grace Poole. For the false statements then, we have Jane's time at Thornfield is largely traumatic, and Thornfield Hall has little impact on Jane's character. And we're going to explore why these things are false in the next part of the video. At the end of the video, you'll be able to recall key details about Thornfield Hall, understand key quotations or events from this part of the novel, and finally, apply your understanding to an exam-style question. First thing we're going to do then is look at a series of quotations, and what I'd like you to try and do is to work out the missing words or phrases. If you're not too sure what they are, don't worry about it too much. Stick around for the end of the video, we'll be going through them in more detail. So the first quotation says then, all these blank gave to the third story of Thornfield Hall the aspect of a home of the blank, a shrine to blank. So it's a good idea then to try and think what would be the key words or phrases that are missing from the quotation, and if you can, try and think, can you break down this quotation to something more memorable and therefore something easier to apply when you're writing your exam response. Number 4. It was all his own courage, and a body may say his kindness in a way, ma'am. He wouldn't leave the house till every one was out before him. As he came down the great staircase at last, after Mrs. Rochester had flung herself from the battlements, there was a great crash. All fell. And number 5. I lingered in the long passageway to which this led, separating the front and back rooms of the third story, narrow, low, and dim, with only one little window at the far end, and looking with its 2 rows of small black doors all shut, like a corridor in some Bluebeard's castle. Now, this is quite an interesting description when you think about Thornfield as well. The actual reference here to Bluebeard's castle is contextually quite relevant. Now, this is someone that it was rumoured to have locked away all his ex-wives and apparently murdered them as well. So there's a slight sinister tone here, and it also creates some foreshadowing that there might be something more sinister happening at Thornfield Hall. Look at the events below and put them in chronological order. So the first one says then, Jane meets Adele, an 8-year-old girl she must tutor. Jane returns to Thornfield to find there's been a fire which has caused a lot of destruction. Jane leaves Thornfield Hall after learning that Mr. Rochester is already married. Bertha sets fire to Thornfield Hall and throws herself from the battlements. Jane meets Mrs. Fairfax. And finally, Rochester falls from his horse when returning home and meets Jane for the first time. So again, these events aren't already in order. I'd like to pause the video here and take your time, work through them, and make sure you can actually put them in the right order in which they occur within the novel. Class feedback. Check your understanding against the answers. So in our chronological order then, the first thing that happens is Jane meets Mrs. Fairfax. Now this is significant because when she first meets Mrs. Fairfax, Jane assumes that she is actually the person who owns Thornfield Hall. Number 2, Jane meets Adele, an 8-year-old girl that she must tutor. Number 3, Rochester falls from his horse when returning home and meets Jane for the first time. Now this might be significant in the way that they meet as well. So obviously the first thing that happens when Rochester falls from his horse, Jane is there to witness this, and she actually goes there to help him out as well. So it's kind of like their relationship starts off as already a caring and nurturing one because she's there to support and help him when he's injured. Number 4, Jane leaves Thornfield Hall after learning that Mr. Rochester is already married. Now this is a very significant event as well. Many of the exam questions will ask you about Jane's character and her strength of character, so even though she is deeply in love with Mr. Rochester, her morals and her religious beliefs will not allow her to engage in any kind of relationship with him when she knows he's already actually within a spiritual and legal marriage with somebody else. Number 5. Bertha sets fire to Thornfield Hall and throws herself from the battlements. Number 6. Jane returns to Thornfield to find there's been a fire which has caused a lot of destruction. Look at the passage and attempt the challenges that follow. So it says then, she was on the roof where she was standing, waving her arms above the battlements and shouting out so they could hear her a mile off. I saw her and heard her with my own eyes. She was a big woman and had long black hair. We could see it streaming against the flames as she stood. So the first thing I'd like you to think about is for this actual quotation or this passage from the novel, how has Bertha been presented here? Next one, we're going to think about how has the writer used language to describe the character? And the mega challenge, how has the writer used imagery in this scene? So have a think about things like the contrast within colours, the different language techniques that have been used, and the kind of imagery that's been created when the writer has described this character. Now if you'd like some extra revision materials, then what you can do is you can access the Word document that is attached to the link that's provided in the description below. What I'd like you to do is to read through the extract and attempt the challenges that follow. So this extract has come from chapter 20 of Jane Eyre, and it will help you to think about some of the key questions that might come up in the exam. Also try and think about the stretch and challenge things and try and have a go at the exam question. But also if you do need that feedback, do get in touch, do leave us a comment and we'll try and get back to you and provide any feedback that you need. Really, without any feedback, it means that you're not really going to know what things you're doing well or how you need to improve in terms of the future. In terms of our next lesson, we're going to be going over the following things. So we're going to recall key details about another location, so that will be Moor House. We're going to understand a key extract, and then finally, you're going to apply your understanding to an exam style question. All of these videos are going to be aimed towards getting you ready for your actual exam. So if there's anything that you feel like we need to cover or anything you're struggling with, please do give us a comment and we'll try and make something to actually help with your exam preparation. Now, if you need additional support, then new videos will be added every single week. Alternatively, leave us a comment below or visit our partner channel Bookworm Teaching for more lessons and guidance on all things English. Thanks ever so much for listening, guys, and all the best with your work and revision in the future. Bye bye.